Welcome. Thank you for joining us in this final wrap-up segment for MetricsDAO's blockchain analytics course. Over the month of August, we put together 4 live sessions to upskill beginner data analysts. We started with the absolute basics of SQL, using select to get data, where to filter down a data table into a result set that we want. Using Flipside's easy tables, we covered applying functions and aggregations to the result set so that that you complete the educational bounties that were posted after segment 2, 3, and 4, which worked on tying together a story from that resulting data. In segments 3 and 4, we learned that the data is rarely so clean and easy to use as those easy tables. If we want bespoke analytics, and analysts need to understand how to interpret and navigate the data and the raw data to find what they're looking for. Recall we found transaction data from a protocol of interest. In that case, we were looking at Uniswap and examined parts of the transaction on Etherscan, specifically looking at the logs to see how information might be found in the wrong tables. After that, Shushin led an awesome session on Dune and how to use that platform as an alternative. Both these advanced sessions are really built on the same fundamentals that we went over in 1 and 2, but outside the walled garden of those easy tables. So, kind of the next logical question is, what now? Maybe you completed one of the educational bounties, but how do you take that further? So that's really what we'll get into today. We've got on screen here with their nice profile pictures, Flipside's GJ Flannery and MetricsDAO's rplust, aka Rob. We've collected some questions from the community in Discord in advance, but definitely feel free to ask new ones at any time in the YouTube chat. We'll have those brought up on screen. We'll launch into pretty open Q&A part of this later on. But before we get into that, still want to hit on some actual presentation and professionalism. So I'll pass it off to GJ to talk about leveling up your analysis, where to focus on making your presentation strong and professional, and some common pitfalls he's seen along the way. And then after that, we'll get into some of the direct questions that have been asked thus far.
Thank you, Forg. I think in terms of sequence of events, I will actually go second. I wanted to make sure that Rob gets a chance to shine. I know you all know Rob, but really quickly, I remember early in MetricsDAO when he showed up and started doing submissions, and then fast forward a couple months, he was such a hot commodity in the space that I tried to interview him for a job and couldn't do it because he was too popular. So I want to make sure that Rob gets to chat about his journey from MetricsDAO Bounty Hunter to full-time Web3. And then I'll follow that up and talk a little bit about how to take analysis from very good to great and how to leverage great analysis to get freelance work, to get full-time jobs in Web3, to join projects, and basically the various things you can do.
You're too kind, GJ. So I'll just kick things off, introduce myself. I'm Rob, working with the growth team here at MetricsDAO. Background is mostly in data, finance, and business development with fintech companies. I got started in crypto analytics back early this year around January to Feb, as GJ mentioned, doing MetricsDAO bounties. And fast forward to now, I'll be starting full-time next week in full-time in crypto as a protocol specialist with Rated Labs. So that's a research and data analysis role focused on the protocol and base layer like L1s like Ethereum, Polkadot, Cosmos, you name it. So yeah, so I'll just share like how I started out from doing bounties to now. I'm gonna be heading full time next week into the deep end. So I just want to share like 3 things I learned along the way. By no means am I an expert or am I super experienced? Heck, I haven't even started yet on the job, but I sure hope that this helps, like whatever we'll share here. And yeah, so first tip I'd like to give, or first thing I learned, is to pursue and go after ideas in the space that you're curious about. Chasing the latest narratives is okay. What you see on crypto Twitter, whatever people are, what's on the news or what's on the buzz, it's okay to pursue that, make a dashboard around it, and be with the times. But I think sustainability and as an analyst comes from your genuine curiosity. Like go after something that you're really curious about. Um, for me back then, it sounds like it's not like it's a long time ago, but I was interested in the cross-chain, multi-chain narrative. So all of these L1s popping up, all these L2s, like how do we actually transfer our assets from one place to another, and how we interact across protocols. So I was curious about bridges, moving assets from one chain to another, and I saw like layer zero and their basic message transfer protocol and what the DEX that they built on top of it, or the bridge, quote unquote, that they built on top of it, which is Stargate. So I built a dashboard around it. I built a dashboard across Optimism, then Ethereum, then BNB and Polygon and uh, other chains, and I made a super dashboard out of it. Um, so yeah, the next tip or the next thing I learned is to share your work publicly. This is something that actually we want to incentivize in metrics now. So if you notice, like part of the criteria of bounty submissions is to actually like tweet out um, your submissions, because it's a good way to get yourself out there, be known as a crypto analyst. Chances are there are also a lot of people who are curious about the protocol or topic you worked on, so you're helping them out as well, right? It's a good way as well for protocol teams to notice you and opens the door for collaboration. I know I've gotten some messages from protocol teams or just other people who are curious about the space who want help on their research or want to help with like a quick bounty mission or a quick job, and I was able to like make good connections out of that. It's also a great way to get feedback on your work. Like given the open nature of crypto data, as you learn from Forg all throughout these segments, people can verify if you did it correctly as well, because again, it's permissionless, it's open, like anyone can check your work, and you'll be able to improve upon it thanks to other people looking at your work and reviewing it. So for me, when I built the super dashboard on layer zero and Stargate, I shared it publicly. I even shared it with the founder himself because I really like their documentation, so I also wanted to give him a compliment, but I also shared the dashboard as well to help out with the community, the layer zero community. Because internally, the protocol team probably has their own like metrics dashboards, right? But the community around it probably doesn't have the same access. So I thought sharing that would help them out, and he was happy about it. And he actually like publicly tweeted it as well. Brian Pellegrino, the founder of Layer Zero. So that was cool. Which led to point number three, or the third tip, is to connect with other analysts or people in the space. It's good to build a network and learn from others. I think you'll be surprised at how people are receptive to you if you approach things from a desire to learn. Like for me, in this case, or into the job I got, Neil Dobby, I'm sure you've known him, pretty popular analyst. He connected me with Elias Simos, the founder of Rated, the company I work for. And Elias also saw my work with Stargate, the dashboard I built, and like my approach to the work and my pursuit of learning things at protocol at base layer level. So this plus the endorsement from Hildabi kicked things off, which led me to my job. So it's pretty cool. It's also applicable to my journey in MetricsDAO. So I connected first with Drake Danner.eth. Probably see him a lot on Twitter and Discord as well. Who then connected me to GJ, and GJ actually gave me feedback on my first ever analytics bounty, which is from Flipside on ENS. Back then, I didn't know if actually he was doing a good job, and if this was something I should aggressively pursue, because I didn't know how to ask for feedback back then. I was also working on like how to up to now like how to share my work out there publicly. And the feedback from GJ gave me all the validation I need early on to pursue the work even more. And the rest is history that's continuously being written. So yeah, for me, those are my top three things you should probably take away from what I said, which is one, pursue and go after the areas in the space that you're curious about. Curiosity will sustain you as an analyst with the work. And two, share your work publicly, get feedback out there, be public with your work, get your name out there. And again, it's a good way for teams to notice you. It's a good way to collaborate with other people in the space as well. It's also a great way to improve upon your work given the open nature of of crypto data. And lastly, connect with other analysts and other people in the space, not just data people, because you never know where or from who the next opportunity might come from. So that's all about me, and that's short history of my journey in the crypto analytics space. GJ Fort, anything you want to add? Or GJ, anything you want to say?
Yeah, I'm going to echo a couple of those points for sure when I go through my quick spiel. But curiosity and feedback in particular, I think, are really important. Just the nature of Web3 is going to be find something you really love and go deep into it, understanding that eventually the rewards for that are going to pay off, in some way, whether that's financial, whether it's personal, friendships, relationships, whatever it is. Everybody follows, some journey of first I'm doing this because I love it, and then I get really good at it, and then because I'm really good, I get paid for it. So I'm going to share my screen really quickly. There are a few things I want to hit. I want to talk about really quickly just what the nature of different ways that you can be a professional in Web3 are based on personal experience and some close friendships. And then I'm going to talk about things to do and things to not do, things that really help people I know who have done this, of which there are dozens, and then some things that, keep people from hitting that next level. So let me share real quick and we'll get into it. So I initially did this for a presentation to the Flipside community, but it's also based on my experience with Angel Protocol over on Terra, my own consulting work for a couple of Terra projects. And then, as I said, several folks in my network were kind enough to provide some feedback on this. So really quickly, different ways that you can be a Web3 professional. You can go full-time crypto. That's what I do. I run our protocol advocacy team at Flipside Crypto. You can be part of a DAO like MetricsDAO or a project team. So from my experience, that's been, be on the council at MetricsDAO, but also deeply involved in Angel Protocol, which is charitable giving via the blockchain. You can be an advisor or a consultant, have done that too. And then project work. And this is part of what Flipside does, what MetricsDAO does. But there's also a ton of projects out there that are looking for, hey, can you make a master dashboard? Can you show how we're doing versus other layer one projects, for example? So I want to just highlight some of the differences between those, but some of the commonalities as well. Once you hit a certain level of professionalism, it becomes less about what tweaks do I make to my work and more about how do I get to share what I'm doing with the project. So the overriding things I want to talk about are promotion and professionalism. Promotion is I'm doing cool stuff. How do I share it with people? And the easiest way to do that is by doing it. Share it on Twitter, post regularly, make stuff, and then send it to people via DM. Drop it in Discord. You don't have to do this very long. You do have to be, diligent about it, but it doesn't take that long of making awesome stuff and then sharing it before people will start reaching out to you. Hey, this is really cool. Hey, are you interested in doing this project? Hey, can I introduce you to somebody? It does require you to, get yourself out there a little bit. And this is where feedback is so important, right? It's hard to share work sometimes that you've made that you feel isn't perfect. It's hard to feel like you're going to measure up to other people. The best cure I have for that is get feedback. Get feedback from other folks in MetricsDAO, get it from whatever communities you're in, reach out to me, reach out to the mentor circle at MetricsDAO and say, hey, I really want to get good at this. How can I be better? And specifically, the more precise you can be about what you want, I want to do project work. I want a full-time job. I want an introduction to the grants program at Aave or Uniswap. I would love to work with this project. Like, tap your network. That will help you get your work in front of other people. And that is the royal road, ultimately, to whatever you want to do to getting more involved. I mentioned Rob earlier, let me shout out Forg really quickly. Started as a bounty hunter, did really good work, and was super easy to work with. And this will be the thing I touch on last. But was interested in, Anchor protocol, specifically in Terra back in the day, ended up doing project work for them, which led to other project work, which led to a portfolio page, which led to a bunch of, full-time job offers, including one with us at Flipside. So just the network drives everything. I can't stress that enough. And then the other piece of it is professionalism, which leads me into, what to do and what not to do. But a big part of this is not about being a super amazing analyst. It's about being a super easy person to work with. Be friendly, be on time, get feedback, be respectful. Like, this stuff, more than anything else, makes people want to work with you. I just can't stress that enough either. So you've got the dashboard skills. You've gone through this entire course up till now. A lot of it from here, honestly, is going to be social. So get feedback, go deep on something, be curious, and like consistently, focus your effort on that. And then whether that's a project, whether it's a blockchain ecosystem or whatever, talk to the people you want to talk to. And if you don't know them, ask for introductions. You don't have to do this for very long before people will sit up and take notice. So just to really quickly transition, and then I'll wrap up and open it up to some of the questions we've had. Stuff to do and stuff not to do. One of the not to do things is make dashboards that make people work to read them. If someone has to spend a lot of time and energy trying to figure out what the analysis says, it doesn't matter how good it is, it's not going to get you very far. People are super busy, they don't have a lot of time to read it, and in almost every case, they're not going to know as much about the data as you do. So don't flood your dashboards with charts. Don't make them super, super long. Don't add so many charts that it takes a long time to load. If it takes even a few seconds to load, you're dead. Make it easy for people to find what they're looking for. Say, here's the problem I am going to solve it, and then tell people why it matters. Obviously, another big one is visualizations. This is so, so important. If you have like 3 pie charts or 3 bar charts next to each other, people's eyes start to glaze over. And again, the content will kill you. Like, it doesn't matter how good it is, it just causes people to skim past it. So analysis really, is less is more as long as it's good. Do the appropriate amount of work to answer the question that you set out to answer. Just adding more and more and more on top of it. It may seem like it's, being super comprehensive. It just distracts from what you're trying to do. I would say on the converse, I almost said on the flip side, but that's not going to fly. On the converse, be aggressive in reaching out to people, like Twitter DMs, Discord. Maybe aggressive is the wrong word. Be active, be proactive. No one is going to market for you. They might do it if you ask them to. Flipside will certainly do this. MetricsDAO will certainly do this. I think having to tweet all your dashboards is a good start. I want to call out Jack the Guy, like consistently now is churning out great work. But in my experience, once you get to about 1,000 followers, sometimes even before that, I know several people, 700, 800, 900. That's about what you need for people to start DMing you with requests for work. So being diligent about, building up not only your analysis, but your social following, really important. I'm talking a lot, so I think I'll pause there. Forg, let me kick it back to you. Let's answer some questions.
All right. So Richard Hicks, how do you break through the noise? There's so many people making similar work. It is hard to get that traction. That is certainly very true. I think especially as Dune, Flipside, and MetricsDAO have kind of come of age and begotten as as popular as they are, there is a lot of fantastic work that does start to cycle around. I'll echo what rplust added into the chat in response to that. Speaking from his experience, I think unique insight will make you stand out. If everyone is doing the same thing with similar insights, surface something different. That's certainly a great point. For me personally, I will kind of echo something else that was said earlier, in that following your curiosity. I think kind of one of the best ways to get traction is to find what interests you yourself and to dive really deeply into that, because the insight that you're able to bring out of something that you truly care about and that you really spend a lot of time in is going to be so much more detailed and interactive than if you try to say hit every single blockchain and do cross-chain analytics and let's see how Polygon's doing and Ethereum and Solana. If you generalize in that regard, it might end up as something very insightful that gets a big hit. But for me, it's follow that passion. Find something that you really want to spend a lot of time in, because the more time you spend in there, the more deep insights you'll be able to bring out that others that are looking at it from a generalist point of view might not be able to see. And then on the flip side of that, is that as you continue to do that and put out good work and increasingly good work, rather, maybe the protocol starts to notice. We've had lots of great examples of MetricsDAO bounties being noticed by Aave because the analysts continue to do work on Aave and put out all this great work back to back to back for Aave. That as you start to specialize a little bit, then you'll get more attention in that ecosystem, and then as you continue to do that, you may learn some contacts that you can start to work with directly at that protocol, or that are also interested in similar things about that protocol. So for me, letting that light of curiosity guide what you do rather than putting out work that you think you should be doing, I think is very essential in being able to break through a lot of that noise.
Yeah, huge +1 to that. I'll add really quickly on top of the light of curiosity. There's a lot of great analysts out there. There will be people who have gone through this program who are equally skilled and talented, maybe even equally driven. I'm thinking about Thorchain specifically this week. There are like 8 or 10 really good Thorchain analysts, and they all know each other. So there may be a ton of analysts, but there are so many projects and so many opportunities in this space. If you pick a project, or even more broadly, a sector like NFTs or DeFi, and specialize in that, you will very quickly find that the communities of these people, like worldwide, are a couple hundred people. There are a couple hundred people tops across the entire globe who are really good NFT analysts. So specialization, can't say this enough, both for your work and for networking. If you pick a couple projects or areas or ecosystems to get really good at, the competition gets a lot thinner. Forg, other questions we want to run through?
Nope. Forg.
Sorry, sorry, I was on mute. Nothing in the live chat, but we can go to some of the questions that were sourced before this, if you like, in that pre-segment.
Yeah, let's tackle. Oh, go ahead.
No, yeah. I think related to this is one of the interesting questions was what type of jobs and companies can you expect if we go down this Web3 analyst path? I think jobs, as GJ also alluded to earlier, could be any data related, data analysis, of course, but also could be focused on research or data engineering or data science, like prediction, etc. In terms of companies, pure research firms, certainly top of mind. Protocol teams looking to build their analytics stack, analytics practice. You could be an analyst, that kickstarts that for them. And even crypto venture capital firms are looking to, be smarter around on-chain data. We have perhaps another one here. I'm really having a hard time for making a niche. Any pointers on choosing a niche?
Let me tackle this one first.
Okay, cool.
And then Forg, if you want to hit it from your experience. I would say two things, and I want to go back to what Forg said. Follow your passion, light of curiosity, go wherever it leads you. You're not required, to specialize. I do know folks who have been successful as generalists, but figure out where you're going to have an edge. Where can you do stuff, whether because you have a financial background, or maybe you can do some coding, or you're just really passionate about it. This applies, I think, to trading as well, investing. Find out where you're going to have an edge and start there. That would be one. And then the other one is do a little bit of research. Hop into some Discords, find their analytics channel, see what people are talking about on Twitter, there will be no shortage of ideas for people who are asking for something in particular. So let that guide you as well. Listen to what the market is saying. And you'll quickly find, hey, I'm really good at this, or I don't like this as much as I thought, or people say they want this, but what they really want this. And then I'll close with this. If you really still are stuck, and if I were starting out, as an analyst, if I hadn't left like the analyst path, it would be find a project I really like and make them a master dashboard, share it with them, do it for free, and say, hey, I made this. Like, how could I improve upon it? That's how I would start out if I really were stuck and didn't know where I would want to start. Pick a project, provide some value to them up front, and you can always just make like an ecosystem dashboard for them, and then see how it's received. And their feedback will tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah, definitely. And I think another point there is, not to dunk on the idea of generalizing, but that could be a very great tool to actually go and figure out, what it is that interests you. So thinking back to a year ago when I was doing a bunch of bounties, I would pick up a program that I had never really used before or didn't even have that much interest in, because the question in that analytical bounty was interesting enough. I was like, oh, okay, I don't know really what this protocol is doing, but let's go find out. So using that style of work really helped me kind of just figure out what's going on in the ecosystem that I'm not totally focused on. And you can use that as a tool to explore a bunch of different topics that are out there until you find one that is interesting enough to you. And I think that is one of the great powers of analytical type bounties, is that there's questions that you may not otherwise be asking yourself in protocols you may not otherwise be looking at, that you are all of a sudden going to go in and deeply analyze, and you have to learn how it works, what its users are doing. And that's one way that you can decide, is this something I want to continue to interest myself in, whether it's the protocol or that category of protocols or just that type of activity. Just continuing to grind and to push and to try a bunch of different new things and staying open to different types of work until you find something that's like, finally, oh, okay, this is what I'm finally interested in, that I want to start to do a lot more of.
Yeah, awesome. I think there's another one from the pre-source questions, like what is the growth potential in terms of new skills or new areas of applicability of crypto analytics skills? Eventually, the initial learning curve will level off, so where to next? I think from here, moving away from analytics, there's still plenty of areas to solve in the data stack, in the crypto data stack. The biggest one, I think, is data engineering and like data modeling, because you can have multiple approaches to data engineering in the space, including what tool to use, right? For data warehouse, for orchestration, for managing transformation, etc. I think the jury is still out on what the best practices are in crypto data engineering. So I think it's a good way to upskill, specialize, and stand out as an analyst if you have some data engineering skills mixed in. Another, I think, at least from what I've seen, is there's still there's like predictive models around crypto data, like the data science side is still in very, very early stages. I think it's a space to watch out for, especially if you're a data scientist yourself. So anything surrounding like predictive scores or credit scores around, say, wallet behavior, etc. I think those types of like problems are like still very early stages. So I think there's a lot of room to grow beyond like just being a data analyst. Anything you guys want to add?
Yeah, let me give a Web 2 example. I started after my master's as an analyst at a major solar energy company. And then I became a global analyst. So I specialized in a subdiscipline, international, basically. And then, my Chinese led me to focus on China specifically. So language specific, region specific. I think for Web3, that applies to an ecosystem. So you can take your analyst toolkit and become an expert in Polygon or Ethereum or Solana or what have you. Another one's finance, taking your analytics and adding it into a financial skill set to understand how to inform traders and investors. I would say another one on the non-technical side would be like, I'm trying to think of the right way to describe this, but product analytics in general. this is ultimately what my analyst path led to. I became a product analyst, still at First Solar, and then got into a career in product, which is what led me to Web3. So having a really, tight analyst skill set and understanding data also can lend itself well to product. I think the last thing would be writing. If you're not necessarily sure what your next, technical skill set, if it's going to be a data scientist, data engineer, you can always just write about the analysis that you're doing if you're a gifted writer. And this is one thing I think, again, that, Forg has done really well. A few others, portfolio page. Have a portfolio page. This is something that no matter what specialization you want to make, there are a lot of different paths you can take, but having one central landing spot for you to showcase your work, again, will help you understand, here's what people are looking for, because people will reach out to you and say, I really like this thing that you did. Do you have any more of it, or do you want to do any more of it? So again, just like listening to what the space is saying can be really helpful in terms of knowing where to take that analyst skill set and level up and find the next thing to combine it with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I want to briefly just screen share a very useful resource that one of Flipside's Cantina members, Pinehurst, has put together. If I can get the right screen up. All right, we are up. So this is by no means comprehensive, but it is an awesome page to come to just take a look at, kind of see like what is the landscape and what are we actually looking at here. So Pinehurst went through and kind of basically gathered a bunch of different crypto protocols that are out there and companies, and found like different places that you can go actually find work in this novel idea of working to earn. So it's working out into category. Layer 3 is a bounty platform, which are not just analytics bounties like MetricsDAO and with Flipside, but you can go find some other different types of bounties to work up there. There's DWork and Gitcoin. Under analytics, we've got a bunch of names that you'll recognize here. I'm not going to go through each category, and we'll drop the chat in the link here. But stuff like this is a great place to just go in and kind of explore and click through each one. Be like, okay, I don't know what Pointer GG is myself, so like let's go find out what that is. I see the link is to a bounty page, but there are a lot of one-off opportunities like this that, as GJ mentioned, can help build out a portfolio of work that you're doing. I think what's so great about this industry is the fact that so much is open source and open shared, is that helps you then actually be able to put together something to point to it and say, here's the work I did for Rabbit Hole, for example, and here's something I did for Hive that I was post to earn. So maybe that's like a content creation category. So there's a lot out there. I think this is awesome that he was able to put this together. I don't know if it's in the chat yet, but just wanted to very briefly highlight this as a resource. And once again, it's comprehensive, but it is not complete. There is so much out there that, yes, it can be hard to source sometimes. So that's why awesome community members like this put this together out of just sheer goodwill. And then we end up with something that is at least a great starting point for places to look for something, the next thing to do.
Do we have more questions?
Yes, can we bring up the question from Mohammed, please?
I think
that's the response to his question. So Mohammed's question was, is there an internship program for university students, something they can work on the flip side and learn and go to this company from their country? And then the follow-up message was, or give a certificate as an activity on this platform that will be useful for our future.
Let me handle this one off the bat. Certificates in Web3 are not going to hold a candle to having a good portfolio page. Like your portfolio, the work that you've done, like that's your resume, that's going to be your certificate. You don't need, and this is a big difference from Web2, you don't need someone else to sign off and say, hey, my work is really good. Let your work speak for itself. On the internship front, I'll say this from experience, like if you jump into a project and you spend a month actually like solving problems for that project, you will quickly get more out of it than an internship. Whether that's tokens, whether that's contacts, whatever it is, like this is one of the great things about Web3. You can do this, like you don't need permission. You can just show up and say, hey, I'm really interested, and start contributing. And every project I have either done this for or witnessed, like that gets rewarded very quickly. The one pitfall there is showing up and saying, hey, can someone tell me what I should work on? It's really hard if you're running a project or a DAO and you have 10 people saying this, typing out a detailed answer and then having 8 of them ghost you. Don't wait for permission. We're in a permissionless space. See a problem, go solve it, just rinse and repeat. I guarantee you that the work you put into that will be instrumental in helping you level up. And frankly, it'll be a lot faster doing it that way than a 3 or 4 month internship.
Yeah, for sure. And plus one on having a good portfolio. Like I have for every job application I've submitted for crypto, I sent like the work I did on Flipside or my Doom portfolio, and it led to like a very speedy interview process, just because they already seen the work I've done, they know the skill set I possess, and it just makes it easy. Like there are a lot of jobs these days in the space that require or want to see your dashboards or analysis you built on platforms like Dune or Flipside. So that really helps way more compared to like a certificate of some sort. And also like just reaching out to teams themselves like proactively, like before they even ask for analysis, for example. Like for me, like during one of the job application processes I had with this company, I actually messaged the head of product, and I noticed because they were making dashboards on Dune and they weren't loading as expected. So I actually messaged him uh, before I applied and said, hey, here's a dashboard I rebuilt that loads faster and it's a bit more efficient. Hopefully it helps, and that helped me stand out in the application process and eventually got an offer for it. So I think being proactive and having a ready portfolio is definitely more helpful. Any other questions? I think one question we've got as well is like how many crypto analysts actually make it to a full-time position. Maybe GJ can chime in later, like based on what you've seen, given your work at Flipside as well. But I'm not sure about the exact numbers here, but I can say that there's plenty of demand in the market for it, for like crypto analysts, given that there are plenty of things being built, from new protocols to new chains themselves. So there's a lot of data that's coming in, and we need like analysts to solve that, to solve the data questions around those problems. And also too, data structures are evolving. Like each chain or each new protocol approaches the data in a different way. So it's an opportunity to specialize and help out more teams.
Yeah, I'll share a conversation that Danner and I had not too long ago about exactly this. You know, how many analysts does the world need? Like, there are 150,000 chartered financial analysts, and that's just the CFA designation. That excludes, you know, other designations worldwide. Like, we are building toward a future where there will be a need for hundreds of thousands of blockchain data analysts. And that, I mean, that's going to cover a bunch of different roles, right? There will be DeFi, there will be ecosystem level, there will be NFTs. I guess my answer would be there's way more demand right now than there is supply. One of the challenges, I think, of a bounty style model that a lot of projects do, you know, Flipside, Dune has their bounty board, Layer 3, is that people wait for work to come to them. we are so early in the space. There's so much unclaimed territory. Like, projects need help. They need work. There's so many Discords I'm in where people are saying, hey, I need an analyst for this. I need, something for this. Go out and find it. There's so much untapped, potential out there. I cannot estimate what the number is, but I will be amazed if, what is it, 2022? By 2025, the number of on-chain analysts don't outnumber the number of CFAs globally, 150,000. So if you're in the first couple thousand of that group, you're in a really, really good spot. So it depends if you believe the same thing about, the future or not. This is a personal belief, not a flip side speech or anything like that. But like I said, I think that we are still so early in terms of blockchain analysis. There aren't standards set yet for a lot of this stuff. We are still in the early cohorts, but there is an explosion of demand coming for people who are able to do this and articulate it clearly, write about it well, and have a basic grasp of the financial implications for all of it. TLDR, lots.
So new question, how do you focus? How do you know what to pursue? There are so many opportunities in so little time. Unfortunately, the first answer that comes to my mind is yes, that is correct. And I know that's not very helpful, but there are. And actually sitting down and saying, I'm going to focus on this one thing and not something else is a hard decision to make. But I do think sometimes the idea and maybe like the fear of opportunity cost can be a little bit overpowering. And it frankly is something that maybe we need to kind of tone down in our own minds, that, okay, if I pick up this bounty and work on this, then I'm not able to go do this. Or if I, focus on an analytical program like this, maybe I'm not able to develop out some, software engineering skills that I might want to go focus on. And there's not really a general answer to that, other than figuring out what your own priority is, what it is that you want to achieve, maybe not necessarily in the end goal, but kind of like with the next step, and what is your own personal next stage in development. So it's a great question that does not have a very simple answer, in my opinion. Great question. Ivan asked, don't you plan to continue the course with more advanced sections, or might it be in the future? Yes, absolutely. As many of you know, this was the first such ongoing course style workshop that MetricsDAO has put on. I am very thrilled with how it has been going, and I think it's something that we definitely want to continue. The idea of education through the mentor circle has been a part of MetricsDAO kind of since the beginning, and we're going to continue to have a focus on that alongside, upskilling analysts and into the bounty program and community growth and all that. So this, I think, has been a great framework that we are definitely going to build on. I know there's a lot in the works in terms of, ideating out what do we want to do next. So there's no announcement at this point in time. There's no set roadmap, but there are conversations going on. And if that's something that you would like to have a say in, that's, we have a Discord channel that's open for this type of conversation about, okay, this is how it could improve and this is how it could change. These are the elements we'd want to see kept around. All that feedback is invaluable. But the short answer after the long answer is yes, educational workshops of some type will definitely continue. Rob, you want to take this? Then I can go too.
Oh yeah, for sure. So can our experience be enough after your experience with Flipside? I'm assuming that's asking like after you've been a crypto analyst, like is it enough to land a full-time role? And to that I say, yeah, I can speak for myself. It hasn't been a year since I've started, doing this, and I was able to get a job. So definitely that should be enough. It's the work that counts over tenure, as Maria pointed out.
Yeah, I would agree with that sentiment there, that it's the work and the progress that counts more than time. Time, a year is going to pass no matter what you do. It's what you actually do with that year that matters. So for myself, I had been going through like a career transition and teaching myself more technical skills before I had found Flipside. It was the bounty program that kind of honed that focus into data analysis, working with SQL, with data sets, specifically on the crypto projects that they had in their bounty program. And that's what ignited a passion for me in crypto data specifically, knowing that that was the general field I had wanted to go into. So that my first bounty was in what, June of last year, and I'm actually going to pull it up because I love how terrible it is, because it's just, I think, a great testament to kind of like how far you can go. So if you want to pull up my screen, please. So the dashboard pages have changed a little bit, so it is a little bit different looking, but this was it. This was the very first bounty I put together. The dates obviously I think have been updated with the new bounty, or with the new dashboard page. But this is what I submitted in June of last year. It was after about 2 weeks of trying to figure out SQL and just trying to get data from tables. So this was, June was what, 15, 16 months ago. And I started at Flipside in April of this year. So just under a year of doing that. With that being said, there was a lot of progress and development from this that got me to a point where I was able to get a full-time role. And it was also, all that was driven by interest and a desire to continue to do this. So within that year, I frankly kind of set aside, to as best I could, other roles and responsibilities so that I could focus on doing as many bounties as I could, and learning as much as I could, and upskilling and learning new techniques and just getting better. So a year, I think, it's an arbitrary amount of time, frankly. But yes, you can use that amount of time to do what you need to do. But you have to be incredibly proactive. I think that's something that cannot be understated enough, is that nothing's going to really come to you. You have to be the one going out to get it. And I think that point is also why we mentioned earlier the idea of putting your work out there, putting yourself out there by putting your work out there, and going to find those opportunities. That's where a lot of that gain and effort will come from.
Yeah, and the only point I'll add to that is, if you do go out and get it, you'll find it. Like, you can ask any of us or any of the the great analysts you see in the community, hey, can you provide specific feedback on this thing? And if you make it easy for people to say yes, you will get the help that you're looking for. There are at this point so many great analyses out there to learn from and imitate. Like, there are hundreds of examples of, here's what really, really good work looks like. That is such a cheat code in getting, skipping a bunch of the middle steps. Honestly, something that I used to do is find the work of someone I really respected and just copy it. Like, actually retype their code line by line. And as you do that, you would, rapidly get into their mindset. This is something that there's an American philosopher and politician named Benjamin Franklin recommended. Finding a book or an author you really liked and just like writing out word for word their writing, it puts you in that mindset really quickly. But bottom line is, go out, be proactive, like learn from the best and reach out to projects. And if you do that, then less than a year will rapidly get to, where you want to be.
Matthew asks, am I right in thinking most analytics positions are remote working? In my experience, yes, I think so. Just based on the places that I had been talking with and interviewing around with, most of them were situated elsewhere, but understood that talent is no longer kind of needs to be centralized in one area. There are always going to be exceptions, and there are going to be places that want to have a local remote workforce. But I think that remote hiring is very much around and is going to stick around. You agree, Rob?
Yeah, definitely agree. I'm actually based halfway across the world from you, Forg, and GJ. So, and the opportunities are like the same across the board. Again, depends on what you work. There's no borders, so just apply away.
Well, we are near the top of the end of our hour. Are there any final questions that we need to hit on from the stuff that was sourced pre? Here's one. Perfect. How do you keep track of development in crypto? What Twitter, Discord, social media, resource accounts do you follow and read? Great question. It's difficult. There is a lot that goes on. I'm sure we'll all have some similar answers and some different answers. But I'm in, which was it now? The Daily Bear in Telegram, I think, is a great one, with every day just kind of a link of probably a list of 20, 25 tweets from that day about events that happened. Definitely don't get through all of them in a day. In fact, I just kind of we'll scroll through and be like, oh, this is interesting. This seems like something important to know. And then just staying plugged into whatever community you're interested in and listening to those around you and just seeing like what are people talking about in the MetricsDAO Discord, what's trending in the Flipside Discord. And then I'm sure there are other great Twitter accounts to follow, but those are kind of my main sources.
Yeah, this is stuff even I'm still developing my information digest because there's so much things going on. Definitely some good podcasts out there from like Empire from Blockworks, and of course the Bankless guys always churning out some good information. Yeah, if you're gonna use Twitter, I recommend lists. Just curate people you think are worth following and just make a list out of them. Categorize topics you want to follow as well, because it can get messy when you're just relying on your home feed. So yeah.
I am not much of a LinkedIn user. If one of you two are better equipped to take that one.
Yeah, I love LinkedIn for Web2. I think it's awesome. I don't think in Web3 that you need it. I think just hopping into Discord and sending messages, and again, make it easy for people to say yes. Like asking general questions takes time, and like folks are busy. Say, hey, could you answer this specific question about this specific thing? Or I have submitted this. I wanted to know how to make this visualization or set of visualizations better. That's going to be more effective than LinkedIn. Just LinkedIn is not super popular for crypto, for Web3. Right now, it's all Discord and Telegram and sometimes Signal and Twitter. But if you make it easy for someone to help you and not have to spend too much time, most folks will be happy to help you. And again, like portfolio page, can't stress it enough. That will be more effective, like than any amount of work put into LinkedIn at this point in Web3.
I would, yeah, kind of reiterate a portfolio page. So back when I was looking for a new role, I had this long list of bounties that I had done. Started doing just a couple more long form type posts, and then initially started sharing that on Twitter because I did started to decide like, all right, I want to put my name on this. Let's put some of the work that I'm doing out there, which, as an aside, for me, I think was a large turning point in my development. Not because it was, oh, I have this massive audience that's going to see it. I have like no Twitter followers, but because I no longer felt like I was the only one looking at it. I was putting it out there in public, and I was like, all right, if I'm putting my name on this, I'm going to hold it to a high standard. But yes, then that meant there were dashboards on Flipside. There were some freeform writing that I had done. There were things on Twitter. So I stopped, took a week to put together, bought a domain, put together a website, and just actually built out a portfolio of my work that then linked out to anything that I had done, and then had that be the central resource. And I specifically built that for the job search process because of that problem where, when you start to do a bunch of stuff and integrate and plug in across a wide range of resources, your work kind of gets spread out and it is tough to bring all together. So it is definitely worth whatever time and effort it takes to build something out and to put together a portfolio, whatever that means to you, of just like a central place that you can send that's almost like a living version of a resume where it's actually showing, not describing what you did, but showing what you did. I think this is a follow-up to his previous question on explaining how to use LinkedIn for our jobs in the future. That's very true. So I would say then, I guess it depends on kind of what your personal next step is. I think it makes sense to, if you do want to work in Web3, to go where Web3 people are and where the companies are. If you're using this to upskill into another Web2 job, that's also totally fine and a great way to utilize bounty programs. Then maybe doing some of that same sharing on a LinkedIn platform would make more sense because that's where those companies are. So going to where the decision makers are actually going to be and where they're looking would make sense, kind of depending on your own goals and needs. Well, we are right at the hour mark. There have been some awesome questions so far. I do see one more. How about let's make that the last one? Can you bring that up from David Enoch, please? What additional resources might you recommend for data analysts willing to expand beyond Web3? Great question. I was never an analyst outside of Web3. I was in a totally different role and then became an analyst within Web3. So I don't know if I'm totally equipped to answer this one, but I would say for me, just in the overall learning journey, taking some more generalized computer science courses that were available for free online was incredibly helpful just with that process overall, having a good foundation of all the different concepts that I could then generalize to how they operated within the framework of SQL and interacting with databases was incredibly helpful. But I don't know if Rob or GJ would have kind of a more targeted answer there.
Yeah, I think for when I was starting out just learning data analysis in general, Google had a data analytics certificate course. It was focused on R, but that was still good to build a foundation there with that certificate course. There are a lot of free resources online, also on YouTube. Alex, the analyst, comes to mind. If you've seen him, bald guy, pretty good guy, smart guy. I want to take on some of his tutorials on analysis and just building like very good dashboards and data storytelling in general. I think there are a lot of free resources out there, as Forg mentioned as well.
I have three. One is the Data is Beautiful Reddit. Another is Our World in Data. And the third, I'm trying to remember, I think it's the Observatory for Economic Complexity. It's MIT. Having trouble remembering the source. The common theme for all of them is data visualization. Like I stopped my solar analysis journey right at the point that I was about to learn Tableau. If you're going to pick one skill just to expand, whether it's Web 2 or Web 3, become a great data visualization, I'll say expert. Storytelling is really important too. I don't know enough about, data storytelling in Web 3. I'm not an analyst as in how to do it, but having read several thousand of them, like great visualizations go so far with even just like a short paragraph or a caption. So if you are truly Web 2 or Web 3 agnostic, the thing that is going to be most useful across, both of them will become really, really good at data visualization.
Hard agree. Hard agree. Because it's the main way we communicate with the people reading our analysis, right? Got to make a good dashboard, got to make something easy to understand at a moment's notice. You don't want to make it an effort for them to like figure out what you're trying to say. So be a good data visualization person. Visualizer there.
Love it, visualizer.
Words.
Yeah. Well, this was awesome. Thank you, everybody, for the questions, both during and beforehand. I'm sure that there are going to be still plenty more that come up, especially as viewers come and take a look at this after it is live. The Discord is the best place to continue some of this conversation and reach either us or additional members within our community that might have similar stories, that might have different experiences, but would all have fantastic answers. So please come join us. It's discord.gg/metrics. And we hope to see you all there. And thank you again so much for coming along with this 5-segment journey with us. Hopefully we built a great framework, and there will be some fantastic sessions down the line.